Okay, right. Can everyone see the screen? Yep. Yep, Matt is following up. Okay, so welcome everyone to our local user group, or local virtual, whatever you want to call it, user group for Manchester. So with just a few tips in terms of for the meeting ahead. If possible, please try and just make sure you've muted your mic because we are recording, just so we remove any background noises. We'll be monitoring all the chat throughout, so feel free to put all your questions in there. We've got the hand raising feature in Teams as well that we can use as well. Please turn on your webcam. We want to see your lovely faces out there, and just make sure that you've got your microphone all set up correctly. So we're going to just whip through very quickly, some of the latest updates from Dynamics communities for the user group. We're then going to jump into our first session for the evening from Ian Bourne. He's going to take us through the $26 billion partnership involving sales and marketing. So if it's that expensive, it's got to be good. Isn't that right, Ian?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay. So we'll do that. We'll then segue across into Paddy's session, where he's going to take us through Azure Cognitive Services with Power Automate Flows. That should be really good. And then at the end, we'll have an open Q&A, and feel free to stick around for some networking afterwards. So just some introductions first of all. So this is the Manchester committee on here. So I'm Joe there, this guy on the left here. We've also got Matt Collins-Jones, and I have forgotten to update that, Matt. Apologies, it's Matt Collins-Jones.
Second time.
I did save the spreadsheet as well. Not spreadsheet, PowerPoint. I'm all over the shop tonight. Good thing we're recording, eh? So Matt Collins-Jones and also Dirk as well, who's on the Manchester committee. And then we've got our fabulous speakers for this evening, Ian Bourne and Paddy Byrne. But we want to hear about who is here in the actual meeting. So we want to do some introductions. To kick things off, Paddy, do you want to just introduce yourself, tell us about what you've been doing with Dynamics, and most importantly, tell us what your favourite dessert is.
Favourite dessert? Yes, I'm Paddy Byrne, and I am a Power Platform functional consultant for Kick ICT Group Limited, based in Bells Hill, near Glasgow, up in Scotland. Lately, I've been working on I've been doing a lot of solution designing. Actually, we've got a really big project on the go. And it's a Business Central upgrade from 2015 up to SaaS, and it's got about kind of 12 satellite apps that go into it. But all those satellite apps involve a bit of kind of scanning invoices and things like that. So it's all Power Platform around this Business Central upgrade. So exciting stuff there. Let's see, did I attend a UG conference or event in the past year? Yeah, I've attended the last local public one, Scottish Summit, so I was there, and I've been, so it's not a UG conference, was it? No. So I attended the last event. I was on the panel at the last Manchester UG.
It counts, Paddy. It counts.
I was down to attend the summit, but I managed to catch some of the recordings as well in Barcelona. Today's meeting, what I tend to gain, I want to, my goal for this meeting is to try and encourage people to have a look at Azure Cognitive Services. Hopefully any doubts or fears of looking at the REST APIs and things like that, hopefully we'll banish them to the side and people will leave feeling empowered. And my favourite dessert is chocolate fudge cake.
Good choice.
Just hot chocolate fudge cake. If it's really fudgy and really hot, that's what I like.
Cream or ice cream on top?
Neither. I like it plain. Just
pure
chocolate. Just pure chocolate. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Okay, Ian, over to you.
Yeah. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ian Bourne. I have the absolute privilege of working with a great bunch of people in my company called Cloud 2020, based in Gloucestershire. We're a Dynamics and Power Platform consultancy. We really get inspired by working with SMB in particular. We like to be able to really make a difference to companies, and I think that's what gets us all motivated. Great team, and I'm very, very delighted to work with them. My Dynamics vision, I'd say I'm a big advocate of SMB, and I remember a few years ago, I had a phone call from Microsoft. Said, "Could you come to Seattle for the day?" And I went, "Yeah, okay." They said, "Well, hang on, not just yet. We'll let you know." So that was on the Wednesday. On the Friday, I got a call. "Yeah, we want you there on Thursday." The only trouble is we can only get $5,000 of travel expenses for you, and you might not get a business class flight ticket and that timescale. I should look for that opportunity. I'll bloody well walk it, only 9,500 miles. Anyway, I didn't. I managed to fly there, and I was given half an hour at the SMB Summit, which is held quarterly by the SMB lead for each country. And my exam question was, explain to how the hell you are trying to sell our enterprise level product into SMB. And I said, quite easily, really. We don't mention the word enterprise, and we just make it approachable for SMB customers, and they're loving it. And that's what we've been doing since. Did I attend a UG conference? Yes, I did. I did the D365 focus in, where was it? In Europe somewhere. I forgot what it was. Brussels?
Yes, I remember it was last year, wasn't it? October.
Yeah, I did that one. I presented on marketing there. I did some of the virtual events this last couple of months. What I hope to gain for this meeting, I actually want to understand what Paddy's talking about. If I can do that, I should be very, very pleased. So no pressure, Paddy. My favourite dessert, there's only one favourite dessert in the world, and it's bread and butter pudding. No contest.
Okay, interesting choice. Okay, right. So would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Feel free to just unmute or raise your hand now. We'll hand over to you. Oh, Jason, I think's raised his hand. Jason, go for it. Oh no, Rebecca, sorry. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi. I don't know if you remember me, Joe, but
I do indeed. How's it going?
Okay, yeah, good, thanks. Yes, so I met Joe in February last year at a
the hackathon, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was the Hack for Good hackathon. When yes, I had no idea what a hackathon was at the time, and yeah, we had a great time. But yes, I work for Pythagoras Communications. I'm a lead consultant there, a functional consultant, and I head up the NFP team. So I'm always looking at interesting ways of using Dynamics and well, working out the best ways for our customers, obviously, to use Dynamics. I've been working on a very interesting project for the last 18 months for a company who has been very siloed. Their teams are in a building which is not conducive to interaction. So they've been using a lot of Excel spreadsheets and
oh god, so literally yeah. they work in a silo, literally.
Yes, they do work in silos, literally. So obviously with GDPR coming on board as well, instead of having lots of spreadsheets held by various people on various different drives, and even locally, they're now really embraced Dynamics. So yes, just always interested to hear what other people are doing.
Great stuff. And favourite dessert then?
My favourite dessert is trifle, raspberry trifle.
Raspberry trifle. Good choice. Good choice. Right. Okay. I think we've got time for maybe one or two more introductions. If anyone else wants to jump in. I'll take that as a emphatic no then, in which case. But I do want to find out what everyone's favourite dessert is in the chat at some point. So please do let me know. Okay, so let's crack on then. Just a few little things just to run through first of all. There are, just to let you know, in terms of for Dynamics communities, there are sponsorship opportunities always open for various companies. So we've got some of the various sponsors at the moment for 2020 on the slide on here. If you are interested in getting your organization to sponsor the Dynamics communities or an event in the future, then please do reach out to Gretchen using the email address that's listed on there. Now, when it comes to ideas that you may have around Dynamics 365, the Power Platform, CRM, whatever it is, Microsoft are keen to hear your ideas. They've got dedicated portals and forums set up so that you can submit your new ideas, vote for existing ones. These will get viewed by the product team and progress forward if there's enough interest. So please do use this to your advantage if you think there's something that would help that needs adding on to Dynamics 365 or Power Automate flows or whatever it is. Use these experience forums to your benefit. There's always plenty of different volunteer opportunities open within Dynamics communities and the user groups. So you can get onto the community site, find out more about what's current volunteer opportunities are available, there may be opportunities to speak, maybe to instruct, to also get involved as part of a potential local user group. So be sure to check that out on the Dynamics communities portals. You can also apply for full paid membership, and there's loads of different benefits this will give you and your organization if you were to go for it. So various different sort of discounts, access to training materials, lots of really great stuff. So be sure to check that out if you are interested in getting access to some of those benefits. So a couple of things for the diary in terms of events that are coming up. You've got the Community Summit Australia, which will be a virtual event. So the time zones mean that probably most of the sessions will be in the early mornings and things like that. But that is there. Probably the next big ones potentially for more accessible time zones for the UK will be probably the Focus Event series. And there's also going to be the Community Summit Europe that's going to be happening in June next year. As far as we know at the moment, all of these will be virtual events until further notice for obvious reasons.
You're speaking at the one in Australia, aren't you, Joe?
I am indeed, yes. So that's going to be very interesting because I think I'm due to speak at either 1 AM or 4 AM or something like that. So I think in other words, I'm doing a Paddy. I think Paddy's done something similar before in the past.
Okay.
So it should be fun. So yeah, thank you for that, Matt. So on this note, yeah, you can, if you are interested, you can register. The sessions you can watch sessions live if you've a bit of a night owl. I believe they would be available for any who attend anyway. So if you are interested in attending this, go onto the community site and find out more details. Then you also got the Community Summit in Nashville, Tennessee. I believe this is a virtual event. I did hear rumors that it might be possibly in person, but I'm not too sure. But again, if you did want to engage with that, then by all means, check it out on the website. Some information here about the Academy that's on the Dynamics community site. So on here, you've got lots of different learning opportunities, so not just virtual training, but also on demand things, on-site training, access to things such as the exam revision groups that have been done. So Dynamics communities have been doing quite a few of these across the various different range of exams available currently, across all of the big MB200, MB400, etc. So by joining the Academy, you get access to content like that. And you can also go through the Black Belt programs to get yourself a nice shiny badge, either as a Power BI, Power Apps, or Power Automate expert, an administrator, or even a leadership as well. So again, all the links are on there. We'll get these slides shared out on the UG site afterwards, so you can access a bit more detail, but links are all there for your consumption. And a bit more detail on that. I believe this code no longer works. We're past April 30th at the moment, but a few more details there in terms of the Black Belt course for the Power Automate. Looks pretty good in terms of what's being covered on there. And then just a quick shout out. So we were originally going to host this event tomorrow on the 30th, but we moved it to today because we've got this really great thing happening tomorrow, the Microsoft 365 Global Quiz. So across multiple different time zones, UK, America, Asia Pacific, all that sort of stuff, you've got these local quizzes happening. So it's all for a bit of fun, all sort of Microsoft focused, some really great prizes at the end of it. But I think the great thing about it is that it's going to be supporting some really fantastic charities as well, all around the sort of the Black Lives Matter movement. So for the UK, it's going to be supporting the Black Minds Matter UK charity. So this is a charity that helps with learning and training opportunities, for people who are potentially eligible for that. So the details are on there. There's a suggested donation. You can obviously donate as much as you want, but be sure to get involved. It's going to be a really great evening. Some great prizes on offer as well, and a good chance just to sort of network and just have a bit of fun, really, which is always good. Okay, so with that then, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to Ian, who's going to take us through this colossal partnership. Stop sharing. So Ian, can you share your screen for us, please? Might be on mute, Ian.
Yep, there we go. Right, we should be back on now then. So yes, thank you for that, Joe. First of all, delighted to be here, and thank you to Joe and Matt in particular for allowing me the privilege of being here. So I'm going to talk to you about the $26.2 billion partnership that is Microsoft and Dynamics and LinkedIn. Now I managed to lose my other screen. Just bear with me 1 second. There's a over here. There. Okay, let's project that. And let's move that over there. No, other way around. Just 1 second, folks. Wendy's going to sing you a nice song whilst it's going on. Oh, come on. Brilliant. Really?
I'm not.
You're not. Right. Okay.
I can make up some like elevator music while we're having technical difficulties, like.
You wouldn't believe after all day that's all been fine, everything's running, and then right at the last moment it fails. But anyway, well,
it could be worse. Country music right now.
Yeah.
Could be,
Okay. So whilst it's reloading, I'll start talking. And so $26.2 billion. The point two apparently is quite important as well. But $26.2 billion, that's an obscene amount of money. And this is what Microsoft paid to buy LinkedIn. At which point everyone said, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Well, let me get back onto track here and project that for you guys. Right. I think we're there. Right, here we are. So what I'm going to do this evening is I'm going to set the scene around LinkedIn, Dynamics, the whole thing. We're going to walk through a bit of a demo with all the dangers involved in that, and then throw into questions and answers. But back to the question, why? $26.2 billion. There's two very, very happy people in this picture. They just made an obscene amount of money. That's in June 2016. What they effectively...
we can't see the picture yet. Have you projected it?
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you mid-flow.
That's all right.
I tried to see how happy they were.
Yeah. Okay, how are we doing?
Looking good. I've got IB. There we go. Yay.
There we go.
Good.
Yeah.
I'll show up now.
Anyone think I'd not done this before? What happened there? Okay, that's good. Happened on the screen. Okay. Right. Yeah, like I say, two very happy people.
Sorry, Ian, we've lost it again. Sorry.
Joking.
It's back.
There we go. We're back.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is all running off a 4G router taped to the window, so let's keep fingers crossed. Right. So in June of 2016, for that sort of money, they bought access to 433 million members. Now, I always don't believe those numbers, but even if it's half that, that's a lot of people. But actual fact, as of today, they have allegedly grown that number to 660 million members. Now, that word member is very important, actually, because there's a lot of discussion about why the integration between LinkedIn and Dynamics perhaps isn't better than it is. But it's because, and also you'll notice that LinkedIn has not actually been brought right into the middle of Microsoft. It is still a separate organization. It's still run separately. Yes, the CEO reports to Satya, but they're still separate companies. And I think the reason about this is to protect the integrity of the membership. Because I think Microsoft feel and LinkedIn feel if ever that integrity is threatened, people will leave LinkedIn in droves. So that's where I think they see this coming. So there are further reasons why Microsoft bought that outfit. Today they get 9 billion content impressions a week. So that's a big number. That's a big number. Of those content impressions, 15-fold around content versus jobs. So it's not just about finding jobs. It is about the content, which again plays directly into Microsoft's hands. 50% of that content is consumed on mobile. So again, this is absolutely the audience that Microsoft wants to get into. This meets their profiles. And the other one is that these members on average are consuming 45 minutes a month of content. Now, it's been stressed to me that the behind all this is the fact that as the economy and as employment moves very much more around to what a lot of people on this call today are doing, i.e., project work, portfolio to careers, that type of thing, then where's the primary access to all this? At the moment, potentially on LinkedIn. So maybe it was a job well done. A bit like when they bought Skype, and everyone said, why did you buy Skype? Well, at a stroke, it made them the 4th largest telco in the world. So these things have a reason behind the scenes. But what does this mean for Dynamics users? I use the term Dynamics users, i.e. Dynamics, Power Apps, etc. And it's 2 things really. One is the integration of Sales Navigator into sales, and the other one is the integration of LinkedIn advertising into marketing. And I'm going to cover both today. I'm going to spend a bit more time looking at the theory behind the LinkedIn, but then we'll look in practical terms. We'll look at both of them and have a look at what that means. So, but Microsoft clearly thinks it's a good idea, because this was a slide that came out of a session last week. And in this session, you notice that the bottom left is LinkedIn account-based marketing. So as far as they're concerned, this fits well into that scope. On the right-hand side, you've got DMC. I don't know if you folks are looking at that, but in actual fact, that's a really good resource of content to put out every morning. Every Monday morning it's refreshed, and great content that you can actually put out yourself. So let's have a look at why LinkedIn is so important in this kind of arena. Now, I've scraped these slides off LinkedIn stuff. Okay, so please, and I'll make no apologies for that. Just save me drawing them all out. But what this first slide shows is that why people go to particular platforms, and it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter they're comparing. So you don't go to LinkedIn to be entertained. You go to Facebook and Twitter, but you do go to LinkedIn for opportunities, improving your career, manage your life, and learning. So that's quite an interesting article. This one is around trust, which is the most trusted of these platforms, and LinkedIn, according to this data, wins by a country mile. And I think we've seen recently, some of the issues around Facebook, and in particular about trust, and how that has an impact on retention of their audience and also their advertisers in Facebook's case. And then we've got other stuff. So here we've got platform the most confidence in to protect your privacy and data, LinkedIn by a country mile again. What's this one? Platforms least likely to show you deceptive content. Now that's an interesting one. And again, LinkedIn. We don't hear anything about Trump in this environment. Safest, LinkedIn. The platform which has the most annoying ads, Facebook. So obviously these are stats, so you've got to take them with a pinch of salt, but interesting stuff. So let's start talking about the how. Now the how I'm going to talk about now is very much around how to advertise. So we'll look at the actual Sales Navigator linking into leads, contacts, opportunities, and what have you in a minute. But I'm going to talk to you about how. So first of all, LinkedIn gives you the ability to target very accurately into the cohort that you want to look at. And we'll look at this in real life as well. But there are 20 dimensions that you can target around your audience to segment. You've got matching audiences, and this is LinkedIn's version of the segment tool in marketing these days. You've got AI in there, so you can actually create a segment and then tell the AI to expand that segment for you. This is what matching audiences can do. That's what that's what matching audiences does in LinkedIn. So it will go out and find, you define what you think is a really good customer for you, and they'll go out and find more that you haven't thought of by matching. You can define these personas. So this is where you try to work out what it is the person is you're trying to talk to. And when we look at this in real life, you can see that you've got to keep working on that, because you need to see who is using your advertising. Are they the right person? If not, go back and change it before it starts costing you some more money. They recommend you start broad and then narrow down. Well, yeah, I kind of get that. The minimum audience they reckon you should try to hit initially is in excess of 50,000. And they're at the sweet spot somewhere in the region of 300,000. Now, you'll hear this warning from me all the way through this evening. Watch your money. All right, this thing can consume your money in seconds. So what I understand what they're saying, start broad, because then you've got something that you can work on, and then narrow down. That can also then lead to some huge costs if you're not careful, but we'll look at how we can mitigate that. That's the minimum target audience as well. So to watch that, you know, that there is I understand you need to have a minimum, otherwise you're fishing in a very small pond. You've got no idea what's working, what isn't. Experiment. So the advice here from LinkedIn is that you pitch a minimum of 5 adverts into any of your campaigns. 4 adverts or more. And the reason about we'll see this practically in a minute. You think you know what's going to hook your audience in, but in actual fact, it can be something else. The challenge is working out why they're going into a different advert and why they're not going to the one you think should really set them alight. But I'll show you that in a minute. This is an interesting one. Use seniority rather than years of experience. So when you are narrowing down your target audience, seniority these days is irrelevant. We've got people that race through, gone are the days when people went into a job for the rest of their life and then retired. People move through, so therefore people don't tend to gain seniority in a job these days, but don't gain years of experience in a job, but they do gain seniority. I think I get this back to front. So just watch that one. That you can segment by experience, not really appropriate. And it says segment by region. This is really only valuable if you're doing a global market or global marketing. But of course, a lot of the stuff that we do, actual fact, you can sell globally. And the example I'm going to show you today, actual fact, so today we've had leads from Australia and from Northern Ireland and exotic places like that, but 2 extremes of the globe. So segment by region. The reason I suggest you do that is, one is because you want to watch your time zones, because if you budget to spend so much per day and you release that advertising, it can be consumed sometimes before your region is even awake, or the region you want to target is even awake. And obviously also there's different language and different, not just language, but different approaches to marketing in different regions. Okay. All right, but first, do your homework. Now, this I think is really important. There's no point in even looking at marketing until you've built your presence. Now, most people think building a presence is about them. It's not in this case. If you're going to advertise, it's got to be about the presence of your organization. And my organization has been woefully bad at this, like a lot of people, I'm sure. Well, actually, Cloud 2020 is okay. We hit most of this, but the example I'm going to show in a minute is a new brand that we're trying to promote. or we don't meet this minimum criteria. So you must have your logo, you must have a tagline, you must have a description, you must segment your industry, you must show your size, you must show location and URL. Then you must engage. Now, we all know this. You must engage minimum one every 30 days, one post every 30 days. This last one is rather interesting. You must have at least 150 followers. Now, something changes dramatically about the way things get distributed and metrics in the background when you hit this magic 150 followers number. It's interesting that if you go into the dashboard for a organization and go to request people to add themselves as followers, you get a maximum of 100 chances of that. So what you need to do is have more admins on there than just one, because one can only invite 100 and not everybody says yes. So that's a really key metric you need to hit. You need to hit 150 followers. I don't know why, but it's just something set by LinkedIn. There's an interesting, I don't know if you've seen it, but on LinkedIn these days, there's a thing called content suggestions, and you can actually go in, select your industry or select your interests, and it will actually throw up content suggestions for you to actually post about. So to keep an eye out for that, actually, because that's, I don't know about you, but I think, oh, I must put a post out. I think, what am I going to talk about? And this does help. And then there's the page analytics, and we're going to have a look at this in real life, but the page analytics are really, really useful to work out where you're hitting the mark or not. Okay, so let's look at advertising. So first of all, choose your weapon. I say this because there's a lot of opportunities now in, there's almost too much choice now in LinkedIn how you do this. And again, just trying to advise people so that they don't waste a huge amount of money. You really need to consider this. So the question is, what is your objective? What are you trying to do? If you're trying to increase brand awareness, fine. Pretty well all of this will do brand awareness. Except for message ads. Just a small point. Message ads are text messages. These days, that's only available on the web browser, on the desktop. So therefore, the market for that is, the cohort for that is dropping dramatically, because 57% consume on a phone, for example. But brand awareness, fine. Website visits, fine. But then you start to look at some of the other things, so particularly on conversions, what have you. You'll notice that video actually gets a lot of ticks, but video ads cost money to produce well. And there's nothing worse than a bad video ad. We've all seen them. So there's a cost benefit analysis thing going on there. But let's have a look at these individual approaches. The single image ad. This is the mainstay. This is their flagship. It's been there forever, and it works. Let's be honest, it works. What you have to do of this one is make sure that you do multiple single image ads. So if I'm on LinkedIn and I see you come up, it's going to take 4 or 5 impressions for me to actually even notice your ad. Okay, so therefore, if you've got a single image ad, you need at least 4 for me to actually see that ad differently, and some of them I'll just tune into, and some of them I won't. The image is important. The image, which is again reason why message ads aren't so good. The image attracts the eye, and the image needs to be relevant. Video, I've just mentioned. Video is really good. People relate to video. It needs to be short, sharp, very much to the point, and the story's got to be in the video. And bear in mind, it needs to be silent. It needs to still give you the message if it's silent. Okay. Carousel ads. So I said about people needing to see your ad multiple times. You could argue the carousel ad's going to do that for you, because you can have multiple images in and multiple messages in the carousel ad. The thing about a carousel ad is it's really designed to tell a mini story, but without the video. So a useful one, because you don't have the cost or the complexity of building a video. A lot of people can build the creative content of carousel ads. So, you know, one worthy of some thought, I'd suggest. Text ads I mentioned. They're there, they get impressions. They are probably less effective these days than the ones we just mentioned. And then there's this one. Now, this one I think is interesting. This is dynamic ads. And what this does is you can see like on the bottom right there, you can get your picture, you can get the customer's picture on there, and you can actually put your picture on there. So it almost looks like you're having a conversation with the person looking at the ad. It really does draw the eye. So if you're trying to promote something like, let me think, as a training event or a UG event or what have you, then if you've got something where you've got an account manager that's responsible for that, or a key speaker, to have the key speaker or the account manager's face and the user's face on the same ad really draws the eye. So dynamic ads, I think, are really rather powerful. These are quite new, so I believe. So I sound like an expert. I'm not. I'm actually talking you through my learning journey of the last couple of weeks. So, you know, just to put that in context. However, dynamic ads. Right then. So monitor. This is so important. It's a seriously long and difficult process to get to the point of launching an ad. And when you do, you go and relax. No. Go back in, start monitoring and see how things are going. It's important because I guarantee the first ones you do won't work terribly well at all. And you'll blow through 50 quid and go, and what happens? I haven't seen all these leads coming. So you really got to work on it. So you need to see whether you're getting, and you need to decide what is important to you in metrics. You know, are you looking for just getting your brand awareness, or are you getting lots of impressions? Are you getting lots of clicks? So, and all the different factors impinge on this. So to get the impressions, you need to get your segment right. To get the clicks, you need to have the message right. And so on. If you're trying to actually get lead generation, then you've got to make it as simple as possible for that to happen and attractive as possible. I'll come back to that when we look at the real life. I mentioned monitoring. There's a element in there where you can actually monitor the demographics. Now, this is really important, because if you want to, my view is, we sell into SMB, we sell Dynamics and Power Apps. We want to talk to decision makers. We don't actually want to talk to IT. So it's important to us that we get the operations, the business development people looking and clicking through. And I'll show you a live one in a minute to show how that works. And then it's tracking performance. So it's great if you're really trying to drive some real lead generation. Then obviously it's what is the end of that process. Is it they click the button that opens up the lead generation form? No, it's not. And I'll show you now that we had lots of people clicking that and then backing out. So it's actually when they complete that form, create the lead, and see that coming into the dashboard in LinkedIn or into your Dynamics for Marketing dashboard. Okay. How are we doing so far? Have we got any questions? Sorry, I have no idea what's going on here in terms of questions and things. Have we got any questions so far?
No questions thus far in the chat. If you do have any questions, you can drop them into the chat and we can pick them up from there.
Brilliant.
Don't want to come off.
Super.
No, you're looking good. I'm already hooked on this. This looks pretty good.
Okay, well, we'll have a demo. Usual caveats around demos, live stuff and what have you. We get so far, and then to protect the innocent under GDPR, I've actually taken some screenshots and blacked some stuff out. So I'm hopefully able to take you end to end in some of this stuff. So let me find what I need to find here. I think it's. Let's have a look. No, 1 second. Yeah. No, wrong one. Bear with me. Okay, this. Right. The first thing we're going to look at actually is, let's swap that around again now. The first thing we're going to look at actually is how LinkedIn connects into a bog standard Microsoft Dynamics sales. Okay, so here I'm in a Dynamics sales platform here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some guy called Joe. I might now go. Caps. Let's see, Joe Griff. Let's see if we know somebody called Joe Griff. Yeah, there he is. And what do we know about Joe Griff? Now, well, let's see if he's in LinkedIn. So this is now Dynamics talking to Sales Navigator. So to build a Sales Navigator license. So there's a thing called relationship sales. If you buy that, you get also a Sales Navigator license. That's good news. The bad news is it's nearly impossible to get because you have to do it through an EA agreement and buy a minimum of 10 licenses. Okay. The only other way you can do it is you buy your Sales Enterprise license as per normal, and you go to LinkedIn and you buy a Sales Navigator license. And then in Sales Navigator, you tell it that it's allowed to talk to Dynamics. Now that function actually, that process is quite easy actually. You go into the admin side, you allocate your Sales Navigator licenses to LinkedIn users, and you tell them to connect to Dynamics. It understands Dynamics, and you tell it to sync. So that's fine. When you do that, then in your Sales Enterprise app, in here Sales Hub, you can actually then enable the LinkedIn tabs, and then it works. Hurrah! Okay. Well, in this case, it's found this guy called Joe Griffin, which is really good. And what I can do is I can save that in Sales Navigator. So I'm going to put him in this. I've now saved Joe in my list in Sales Navigator called Superheroes. Highly appropriate, clearly. Hurrah! Good. Now that's fine. What I can do here, you see, I've got things like icebreakers and get introduced. With Sales Navigator, let's say you've got 10 people in your sales team and they've all got Sales Navigator license. Then what you can do, you can say is, I don't know Joe, but who does in my team know Joe? Okay. Or who in my first degree colleagues in LinkedIn knows Joe. So I could go down through here and I could go, let me have a look here. There's going to be somebody here that knows Joe that I can speak to. Yeah, Matt. Hey, do me a favor, Matt. Can you make me an introduction to Joe, please? And that could happen.
Joe, this is Ian. Ian, this is Joe.
Thanks, Matt.
Hello there.
Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Now, Joe, buy something. All right. So we can also look at the company profile. So now it knows who Joe is. I can now go in and say, but what do you know about Joe's company? And see here we've got we've got Joe's company in here. So that's kind of under the bonnet. That's in contacts. The same thing happens in accounts, but also we can go into leads. Now this is much more. It's much more likely, right, where you're trying to you know nothing about this first, but for some reason this lead's come into you. So we've got this lead here, and we've got this guy called Joe Griffin, and he's a superhero, and blah 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 blah. And now I want to go and find more about Joe. I want to perhaps find more about his company. That's as an initial starter, that's much more of a use case. You can actually even get to the point of opportunity and go, hey, how do we ever get into this level of opportunity without knowing much more about Joe? In this case here, so I've not created an opportunity for Joe yet. I've just picked a customer at random, and you can see here the sort of information we get in Sales Navigator. Now, there is no actual direct link between LinkedIn and Sales Navigator. This goes back to that trust thing again. I was at an event a little while ago, and I said, I think I might build something to enable me to just press a button and bring the data from Sales Navigator directly into Dynamics. And the person I sat with says, you can't do that. I said, well, I think I can actually. He said, no, you can't do it. I said, I can. He said, I know you can, but you can't. And the reason you can't is GDPR. you're not allowed to have magic buttons that hoover data out of databases straight into another database. There's a technical term for that, I'm sure of it, but that you're not allowed to do that. That is why you can't press a button in here and go, actual fact, I want Jennifer Varga as a contact in my Dynamics. What you can do then is get Jennifer Varga, create a contact or a lead called Jennifer Varga, and then say, hey, Sales Navigator, what do you know about Jennifer Varga? And you can bring that data in. I hope that makes sense. There's actually an air gap between these two. This is a view of Sales Navigator in Dynamics. It's not the Sales Navigator Sales Navigator data in Dynamics, if that makes sense. Anyway, right, so that's Sales Navigator in Dynamics. Let's go talk advertising. Okay, so here I am. This is our demo for tonight, folks. This is a little Power App that we've built, and it's on AppSource. It's been on there, let's see, 4 or 5 days now, I think, so it's well established. So what we're trying to do is market this. So in here, you would go to Advertise, and that would open up for you the LinkedIn Advertising Campaign Manager. And this is where you start stepping out into the unknown, or at least I did a few days ago. So first thing is you can have accounts. So you notice here that's what we've got an account for Cloud 2020. We've got a cloud account for this brand, which is, because it's not a company, it's a brand, 365am. That's fine, that's allowable. But to do that, you need to set it up. And just to do that, you have to have a company page. So we're back to this again. If you don't have a company page, you can't do this. And you need to associate one with the other. The other slight challenge here, by the way, is associating your staff. So your staff have to be in LinkedIn, they have to be in Dynamics, and you have to tell Dynamics that they're in LinkedIn and vice versa. Okay, so there's a few little gotchas in there to get set up, but it's doable. All right. Unfortunately, you've got to read the manual, which is where I fall down because I have no attention to detail. So in here, we decided we want to in this account here, we wanted to set up a campaign. Now, there's a hierarchy here, and therefore naming gets quite important. We've got here an account, we've got a campaign group, we've got a campaign, and we've got ads. That's the structure. Unfortunately, we called our campaign group 365am, and we called our so we've got a campaign and an account called the same name. You should really, but there wasn't time because I wanted to build some history to show you tonight to go away and start again. But probably the campaign group should have been July's campaign to generate more website hits or something like that. Okay, so here you always get a default campaign group. This is a bit like a default solution in Dynamics. Why? But anyway, it's always there, never got anything in it, nothing happening. What we did then was we created a campaign within this campaign group. Why have they got that? Part of it is the fact that you can also see the performance demographics across campaign groups and campaigns. So probably for more complex marketing teams than we've got, this has a value. Right, now we're starting to get down into nitty gritty. All right, so we decided our aim was to increase awareness of this brand, and secondly, obviously, try to make some money to pay for the marketing we just spent. All right, so fine, you need to do both. I'll be honest, you need to do both. So anyway, website visits, we've done okay here. So what we did was, out of this, we've had 10,500 impressions and 39 website hits. Now, that might not seem brilliant at the moment, but these things take time. So if you remember, we say we needed at least 4 impressions even to get noticed, and this has been running for only a few days. Then we're in early stages yet. It's actually an interesting thing. I'll show you in a minute about the way these performance drops off and why you've got to keep reinventing the adverts. But anyway, these are both running. So let's go into a website visit, and in here you see that in fact we've got now I think we've got 6 adverts as of today. Katie, who's working with us on this, has added a couple of more in today. What we did was we started with some. If you take this top one here, we start with this ad here. It produced 3,500 impressions and 9 visits. Not brilliant. Not brilliant. If we look down here, this is even worse. We had 500 odd impressions and no visits. But we can see that with this one here, with 6,000 visits, we actually got 30 website visits. So, question is, why is that one doing so well? Why did this one bomb? Pretty well the same message, but there's something very subtle about it. So that is where we've now got to do some more work. And this is important. You need to do some work. You need to go in and go, what is the difference between these two? Even print them out and draw them, whatever you need to do, put them on separate screens and go, what is the difference between these two? There's something negative about that one and positive about that one. If we can get all the negativity out of the positive one, we're gonna fly. And this is back to LinkedIn's strong recommendation. You have a minimum of 4 adverts. Now, what we've done here is I've asked Kate to produce a new advert. Now, all she did in actual fact was she took this one, let's start the campaign, and she actually replicated it. So I took a lot of the work out, but then we changed the graphic, changed a couple of words, and away we go. Now, as you see, this just started, so therefore there's not much going on here yet. What's an advert look like? Well, let's have a look. So this is now opening up the advert actually live in LinkedIn, and this is supposed to be driving website presence. So here we go, and it shows this. This is what the advert would look like. So this is a standard single graphic advert, okay, with the option here to learn more. Brilliant. Now, interestingly, somebody's liked this, so straight away you want to go in there and go, well, is this person actually doing this for a reason? Are they related? You know, there's an awful lot of time wasted in life, but in actual fact, this person, yeah, because this is about facilities management, and this person here is actually working in a warehouse. Yeah, there could be something going on there. So what you can do then is you message directly from here. So that's one way of starting to warm up some leads. Okay, so I've lost my, right. How do I get that? How do I? I hate that little bar across the top because you can't get in there. Right, where are we? Back to there. Yeah, thank you. It's got me an easy way of getting that bar out of the way. Right, so some important stuff going on there, but let's have a look at some performance here. So, I know I'm a simple sailor, but I love the fact if you have this 30-day view going on and you go there's the chart there, you have the ability here literally just drag that across there and it zooms in for you. So you can see what's going on here. We started off and we got a fairly consistent approach going on there on that particular ad. Okay, but you can go and have a look at the impression rate and see how that's going on. Now you see the impression rate has started to fall. That's expected because you're showing this advert to the same audience, and once it's been shown to a particular member of the audience, it's not shown again. So the adverts will decay in terms of impressions, which is why you've got to keep inventing adverts. You can't invent an advert and expect it to run for years. It will run for a period of time, and unless one or two things happen, you change the advert or you change the people you're pushing it at. Okay, so you can recycle adverts, but not to the same cohort. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Now, what else we got in here? Campaign performance. Let's go back up the tree a bit. So let's go back up to the campaign group. Okay, so here's this one here. So if we look at the campaign performance, now this campaign performance is over. Which didn't show. Oh, hang on. Click the wrong button. That's why. Sorry, excuse my incompetence. Let me go back. Let's go back to campaign group and press the right button this time. All right. So the performance chart over there we looked at, that's cool. And then what we want to look at is the demographics. This is where I said before, our objective here is to try and engage decision makers, because we're aiming this at SMBs in particular. And you'll notice here that business development is top of the pops, not only for impressions, but also clicks. I'm really happy with that. I'm very surprised, but I'm really happy. And you'll see down here, we've got some marketing and some finance going in there. And where's IT? Down here, below minimum reporting. So that actual fact is actually quite achieving the aim. What we really want to try and do, because of what this is around an asset management tool, we want to try and drive sales down and operations and possibly business development up. So remember, monitor. Keep checking that you're hitting the right people at the right time. Brilliant. Okay. Well, what we haven't shown you is how to actually create a campaign or how to create an advert. So very briefly, let's do both. Let's go into campaign group and create a campaign. So this is where you've got to choose what you're trying to achieve out of this. Do you remember we had that block diagram before? What is it you want to try and do? Do you want to create awareness, consideration, or conversions? So, if you're going for something like lead generation, which is what most people go for straight away, but you've got to do some of the other stuff as well. Otherwise, people don't know who you are. And then what you do then is you just go down through this process. Sounds very simple, but what you can't change later on, you get to a certain point where you can't change the objective, and the objective changes some of the elements in here. So you want to select an audience. Now you can save audiences. So for example, here's one which is a particular institute. Okay, so we'll put that in there. That has now included all these. I'm not going to show that, but it's a way of building a sector, and you can go in and this is where you go in and decide what the characteristics might be. So for example, let's say add more attributes. So it could be that let's say the audience attributes in demographics might be that you want a certain job experience. Remember I mentioned like this before, in which case job seniorities, and you notice down here I've selected CXO, director, senior. So this should be, again, getting our decision makers. Okay, but again, you can change all that, and then you can narrow the audience down. Currently, this audience is standing at 34,000. So that's on the left-hand edge of what they recommend you go in at. As you change the elements up here, these forecasted results will change alongside you. I'll be honest, take them on a massive pinch of salt. They will make you think you're going to be rich overnight. You won't, all right? Trust me, you won't. But it's important you keep an eye on them, because you want to see the sort of spends that you can crank up here. Now, you can put a cap on the spend, and you do that at the campaign group level. All right, so for rule 1, set a limit you can afford. This is like gambling. Honestly, this is licensed gambling. All right, so set a limit you can afford, and bear in mind, just watch the small print to make sure that you're allowing each campaign a limit, because if you have 5 campaigns in a campaign group and you put £100, that's £500 a day you could be spending, not 100. Okay, so watch out for that. So we can do all that. We can then choose the ad format. We mentioned those earlier on. So some pretty cool stuff going on there. And then we get down to here. Now, watch this button here. Now, this one's grayed out because I've not completed some proper stuff above. But enable LinkedIn audience network. These are mates of LinkedIn, right? And if you click that, it will broadcast not just on LinkedIn, but associated websites and forums. Okay, I suggest you don't do that till you really know your advert rocks. Okay, here we set a daily budget and what have you, and we've got a start date and end date. Now, I think the big advantage of this is you can have campaigns based on certain things you're trying to sell, and therefore if you've got If you've got a particular promotion, you can set the start and end dates. I've done that because I wanted to run a campaign, stop it, take breath, and really analyze the hell out of it, so I knew exactly what's going on. Now, I won't pretend to understand these, but there's some really good help on which one you should take. And the one I've used in the last one is Enhanced CHP bit. So what this does is you only pay when you get the result you wanted to achieve, but you pay higher. So again, legalized gambling, you decide which one you want to pick up on that. You can then set how you're going to monitor your conversion tracking. And in this case here, I decided that for website awareness, when somebody clicked through from LinkedIn to my website, I will class that as a win. Okay, but you can create your own in here, and you go to title, decide what the setting is, how long it's valid for, yada yada yada. I won't go into detail of that, but that is how you can determine what is classed and is how it monitors the interaction between LinkedIn and something else, maybe your website, what have you. There's website tracking on here, which you put on your website, so therefore the two can talk and authenticate between each other. Important to set that up properly. Brilliant. Then you go into doing something, put in the confirm save. Okay. All right. You can then start putting in your creative, and this is where you need something who's creative. Clearly, you can now. What I said before, you can recycle adverts. So you've got an advert that's running really well or has run well in the past, and you want to use it again, but in a different campaign group or campaign, you can do. You can bring that content in, or you can create a new ad. And I'll be fair, the creating the ad bit works really well because you see the preview live, and it actually, as WYSIWYG tools go, it kind of works. Away you go, and you can build that out. This is what you're getting straight away, and then you start to build in here. Best thing since. So that will then update into there once you move on. There we go, and so on. So that's how you create a. You can create a thing. Right. I forgot to mention down here. Hang on. Form details. So you can create a form to allow people to do something like request a demo, sign up for a white paper, what have you. You can do that in two ways. Now, we're talking about Microsoft Dynamics for Marketing here. You can create that form in Microsoft Dynamics for Marketing, and you can get this to pipe to your form. I actually, even though I'm a massive fan of Dynamics for Marketing, I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you use the LinkedIn form. And the reason I say that is because when somebody interacts with your ad, they go, click for more interest, bing, up comes the form, it's completely populated. All they've got to do now is press the button. Okay? If it's your form, they've got to fill the form out, because you cannot have your form pre-populated, because this is where data is moving between LinkedIn and Dynamics, and you're not allowed to do that. Okay, but if you use their form on their platform, it's all filled in. The first name, you can decide what's on there: first name, last name, email address, mobile phone, company name, company size. You can choose it. I suggest the less you do, the less intimidating it is. All you got to do then is press go. All right, and away you go, and that's it. All right, I'm just looking at my time here because I don't want to overrun. I don't know how much time I've got, but I want to just try and do you an end for end. There's a lot more I can tell you about this. It's a hell of a learning journey, but the question is, does it work? So I'm going to try and now show you. Yes, in actual fact, it does work, but there's a couple of little widgets in there. So let me find some slides I want to show you, which is on. Let me find that. Yeah, here we go. So I'll just let that load, and I'm going to bring that over. So I'm not going to try and screen this because it'll probably just crash on me. This is now slides of screenshots in Dynamics Marketing, Dynamics 365 Marketing. Okay, so you probably can't see that, but this is it down here, down this bottom left-hand corner. This is in the marketing bottom left-hand corner. You've got the sync status, which is what you got here. Lovely Wendy's with us tonight, myself and Katie, who's our marketing person. And then we've got some profiles, form submissions, and the forms. Those forms are the ones you produce in here in Dynamics of Marketing that you're exposing onto LinkedIn. Then in this case, not relevant. What you do then is you start to look at this. So this is an example. So the first one is I did a couple of tests. So I first of all went in, I clicked the button, and it said, okay, Ian Bourne's just clicked this one, request for a demo. He's in Dynamics, therefore I'm going to update the existing lead. Okay. I then clicked it again. It said lead matched but not updated because there was nothing to update. I was already lead. Okay, that's cool. And then a customer, hurrah! Mark, no name. I assume we can use Mark because there's quite a few Marks in the world. But what happened there was we had a new lead created. So the system works. However, there's a flaw. Because what Mark does, and what a lot of people do, is use their Hotmail account for their LinkedIn rather than their company account. Okay. So you go, okay. So my first impression when I saw this was Mark is wasting my time. It's not a true lead. I was wrong because when I looked into it, the bit you can't see is over the right hand side of the screen here is the company that Mark works for. And I went into the company that Mark works for and I found Mark in that company and I sent him a direct message. Hi, Mark. Believe you want a demo. Let's do it. Okay. So it does work, but that is a thing that caught me out. I thought, oh, Hotmail, this guy's just wasting my time. No. But in actual fact, he wasn't. This guy was absolutely in the sweet spot. He's an FN manager working for a company that rents office space. Absolutely fitted in with what we're trying to sell. So that actually is a really positive lead. So I'm happy. Now, okay. So maybe now we can just finish off really. I wanted to pick up a couple of gotchas and things. So if I can recast my screen, if this works, if not, do you know what? I'm going to do the easy bit. I'm going to drag that one over there, stick it on there and close that and do it this way. So summaries and gotchas. Decide what you're trying to really achieve. What do you want? Do you want Mark? I wanted Mark and I got Mark and I was actually bloody happy I got Mark, but it's quite a process. Do your homework. Make sure your company site's up to speed. Because if they're like us, your personal site's rocking and rolling in LinkedIn, but your company site, rubbish. Set limits. All right. Set limits. Make sure you know how many chips you're putting on the table on this one. Segment accurately and appropriately. We do another product for insurance. That's dead easy to segment. UK, insurance, CXO, and that area. Really accurate. Okay, nice and easy. If you're if you're trying to sell something a little bit more general, it gets a bit more difficult. Beware of these two: enable audience expansion and LinkedIn audience network. I mentioned the LinkedIn audience network just now. That's where they broadcast it to their mates as well. Enable audience expansion is the one where you think you've got a really good idea who you're trying to speak to, and LinkedIn tries to find you people it thinks you might want to speak to. But until you've really got an advert you think is going to rock and roll, don't hit that. It'll just cost you money. Test, test, and test. You've seen already that we've done that in the short period of a few days, and already it's reaping rewards by spending the money, doing the analysis, and testing. Monitor, monitor, monitor. Might sound like the same thing, but it's not. The monitoring really is coming back and going in. You're more looking at more objective level than the testing, which is at advert level. Don't expect immediate results because, like I say, the marketers will tell you, and I'm not a marketer, but they tell me you need to get a lot of impressions, you need to get a lot of awareness going and what have you. So don't expect to put out an advert and get a result that day. It will take time and it will build. So once you're in, it's a bit like buying a lottery ticket and you're always using the same ticket numbers. All right. The day you stop is the day you could lose. So you've got to, once you get in, you got to keep playing the game, really. Follow through. Well, the example there was Mark. I thought Mark was a waste of time, but I followed through and he wasn't. And what have you. The other interesting thing is we've had 2 results today come in as a result of this that did not come through LinkedIn. But I can absolutely categorically state they came through because we're on LinkedIn, but people then went to our website, which we're monitoring in Dynamics 365 Marketing. I'm absolutely convinced they came through from this approach. Phone the Porsche garage. Now, there's 2 reasons you might want to phone a Porsche garage. One is because you've got to cancel the order because you bet too high on your LinkedIn advertising and got it wrong, or you got it right and you could go and order yourself a brand spanking new Porsche. I'd like to stop there and take any questions, but thank you for your time. I hope you found that interesting. It's been a fascinating journey for me. I've loved every second of it, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to learn a bit myself. Matt.
Excellent. Thank you, Ian. Can we get a round of applause? Do you want to take your microphones off mute and we'll give a bit of a clap?
Thank you.
Excellent. Really good talk. Lots of really good practical advice, and really good as well to actually kind of see into the guts of the things as well. So I think there's a few questions in the meeting chat which people have been answering, but might as well sort of share with the class. So where were we? There was it Rebecca was asking if the information you see in the view of LinkedIn, if that's sort of live and refreshed.
It's about as live as LinkedIn is, yeah, to be perfectly honest. You can, I mean, how often do people update their data in LinkedIn? Not very often. So, you know, it's up to date on the day. For me, the stuff that you get in sales actually is really, really useful. You know, if you've got a, so for example, one of the leads that came through today was a company that based in Northern Ireland, and I was immediately able to go into that was in a lead. So immediately I went to the LinkedIn company tab, and I got it to check it out. In actual fact, it thought it was somebody else, and you can go, no, it's not that person. Try again, and you can go and then select the one you know it to be. Because obviously with some company names, you get some confusion on that. And straight away, I then started to see the sort of people that were in that organization. So you've got an idea of the size of it, the sort of people they are. You can go and check out the CEO, the CFO, that type of thing directly from there. And if need be, you can add them to a list in Sales Navigator, so you can follow them up through a Sales Navigator approach. So I find that really, really useful, actually. So when I've got a call booked now, as a result of a lead coming in today, we've got a call booked on Friday to present that solution. I've got a really good idea about that company. I understand its people, I've got its philosophy and that type of thing, so I can relate to them. The stuff that's coming through into the advertising. Well, the data that comes through on advertising it's within the hour, I'd suggest. But again, unless you're betting some crazy numbers, in which case an hour can make a difference, it's okay. I say just that word of caution. I saw on a LinkedIn forum, you know, somebody saying that their daily spent was spent by 2 o'clock in the morning. So all the people you want to speak to are still in bed. And that really again goes back to making sure you've got your segment right, you're targeting in the right time zone to the right people, because there's no point in people in Australia going, oh, that's interesting, click, bang, that should cost you a tenner, when you're actually trying to broadcast to the UK and you're not even up yet. So just watch that one.
Okay. Some bloke called Joe was asking about the comparison of pricing on ads compared with like Google and Twitter, etc. How did you find that? Yeah,
I think it depends who you're trying to market to. We really, this is based on our experience, really rough and ready experience, but we want to speak to SMBs and we want to speak to decision makers. And the audience for that, in my view, is on LinkedIn. Therefore, we don't even really run our Facebook page. We don't see that as relevant to our market. Twitter, again, is that where you're really trying to push advertising? I see that as more as driving awareness of perhaps you as a brand and your brand on your website. I wouldn't see it as targeting, trying to tick around leads. So we do some tuition, what have you, but it's really about telling people who we are, what have you, as opposed to more of an advertising thing, more awareness, which obviously you can do in LinkedIn, but you can then go to the next stage with LinkedIn and try and get some leads going. That's in our market anyway. You know, I think if you're B2C, it's a completely different matter, but certainly B2B, that's where we come from.
Paddy, you've got your hand up. You got a question, or just keen to get on with your talk?
No, just a question. Where do you see much impact of LinkedIn Live? What do you see the impact of LinkedIn Live being to the way you advertise as a business on LinkedIn? Do you see it have much impact at all, or?
That's an interesting one, actually, Paddy, because for me, I think in terms of driving awareness, you know, bear in mind that brand is literally days old, right? So it's only a few days older than what we're marketing. The next stage for me would be then to offer live events on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm a massive fan of doing that anyway, and I can't wait for Teams to be finally enabled in Dynamics 365 marketing as the platform for doing live webinars, because then straight away we'll be doing the monthlies out to our suppliers and our customers and regular updates, and that's how we'll live in that platform for that. But I think for marketing terms through LinkedIn, what I want to do then is build some more awareness of the brand and the product, and then start doing some live broadcasts around top 10 tips, you know, or customer experience and that type of thing. And I'm actually very excited about that. I think that's a really great opportunity. I think that and those little ads I showed you that's read to you as well are two really exciting features for me.
Cool, yeah. No, I noticed as well that so I do a lot of YouTube videos, but I noticed the impact on and the impressions I get on live streams massive, even though the content might not be as good as the YouTube videos that you put your heart and soul into, but the audience is just huge compared to.
I agree with you, Paddy. I think the secret is brevity. You know, 60, 120 seconds type stuff really can have an impact. I mean, those adverts should be really short. I'll tell you what I want to think about is I know they're a bit overplayed on occasions, but things like the little doodlies and whatever, you know. So if you're trying to get a message across, if you think of a campaign, if you built it with some single ads, you had some of the carousel ads, but a doodly type thing on a video which just said the top 5 reasons why you'd want this product are, and with that, that's 20 seconds, but it has a massive impact. But it's not the only thing you should do. You should surround it with other things. So when people, you know, in their subconscious, they're seeing your stuff coming up, and then suddenly a doodly comes up, go, oh yeah, oh cool, yes, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Any other questions from anyone? I can't see any hands up or anything in the meeting chat. No.
I think there's a bit of a follow-up question from Rebecca about performance. Do you see any impact on performance when you're loading the contact record in? I'm trying to guessing that if the LinkedIn stuff is in tabs, then that's loading separately when you click it. But I don't know. Well,
you're asking somebody that lives 3.5 miles from the nearest exchange on twisted copper wire. Performance is a word I'd love to use. You know? I'm surprised I got away with this today. You know, the 4G router taped to the bloody window. But it's not fast. I've got it's not lightning fast. Hey, I don't find Dynamics particularly fast. I'm honest, but the information you're getting is worth waiting for. You know, particularly if you're on a for me, because I'm trying to get that all-round view of what a company's like and get some culture, get some impression of culture and people and players in there. That's fine. I think if you go to the other extreme where you're talking about larger sales teams, and if you're doing that and you get them all on Sales Navigator, then it can be really powerful, because then you start making those second or third degree connections you can't make on your own, and you can go and talk to people. I mean, I showed the example, but let's be honest, I knew I was going to get a result there. I knew you could be in there, Matt, and I was going to find you. But you know, if you'd be surprised how quickly you can get that second or third degree introduction, and then you can actually pick the phone up and say, Matt, we never spoken before, but I was talking to Joey the other day, and he says that you're actually quite interested in Power Apps, and I know a bit about that sort of thing. So you have a much better conversation, and this in the days of GDPR, you've got to have that link. You've got to know somebody. You've got to have a reason to speak to them for them not to get upset and go, whoa, how do you hear about me? I had 2 phone calls today when I said to people, how did you pick the phone up to me? Why are you speaking to me? And you're not getting an answer, in which case the phone goes down, because I'm not having it. Won't have it. So but yeah, no, it's not lightning fast, let's be honest.
Great. Okay, without further ado then, shall we hand on to you, Paddy? And
Yeah, sure.
we're gonna. I've got to say, at first glance, I thought it was following through the fear, which sounds way worse than flowing through the fear. But we can see maybe why they changed the name from Flow to Power.
There might be a bit of following through in it. You never know. We're talking about fear. Right. Let me see. Just give me a second. I'll share my screen. There we go. So quite a long subtitle. Welcome to my session. Thanks for coming. It's called Flowing Through the Fear, Jumping into REST APIs with Azure Cognitive Services and Power Automate. Firstly, I'm Paddy Byrne. You can contact me on my website, www.freefall365.com, www.linkedin.com, my freefall365 on LinkedIn, or you can find me in Sales Navigator probably. And Twitter, I'm at Paddy Freefall, and my YouTube channel is youtube.freefall365.com. You notice a bit of a theme there. It's all about kind of skydiving, because that's what I love. And that theme will probably come up a few times in this presentation. So I'm a Power Platform functional consultant. I am based in Glasgow. I am an admin for the Virtual Power Group, and as part of that role, I run free Power Apps night classes, and they're very much aimed at beginners into the Power Platform, and they're aimed at times so that kind of people with families can come and join in. Letting a bit about who I am. I'm a big wrestling fan. As some may know already, I've no fancy stats about wrestling. I've not been in any matches or anything. I've just watched loads and loads and loads of it. And again, I'll say at the start, every presentation I do, it is not fake. It's predetermined. Absolutely not fake. Don't like the F word. I'm also a skydiver, as I said earlier. We've got almost 100 licensed jumps, and I'm currently doing some training on formation skydiving to try and get good at that. And that's my other passion in life. So tonight's session, what's it going to be about? It's to shine a spotlight on these 2 incredible tools, and particularly this one here. This is the logo for Azure Cognitive Services. If you don't know what Azure Cognitive Services is, it's a collection of SDKs and APIs which make it easier for developers to build intelligent apps, Microsoft brand it as, so apps that use AI without having the background of a data scientist or an AI specialist. And in order to do that, I'm going to tell you a story about how I was introduced to Azure Cognitive Services, how I went about learning REST APIs by implementing a solution using one of the cognitive services, the speech-to-text service, and in particular the batch transcription service on there. And then I'll talk about how I overcome what I refer to now as the fear. And that's an ongoing topic through this, because I'm not a stereotypical dev, despite the devy t-shirt, and things like REST APIs and all that kind of that gives me a bit of fear. And so let's start from the beginning. When I was a kid, I grew up, probably into my teens actually, I wanted to be 2 things. I wanted to be a stuntman or a computer programmer. And the reason for that is that I envied the confidence that stuntmen seemed to have over everybody else. And I was a very quiet, shy introvert. And to see these stuntmen go out and risk their lives, so confident, so cool. I want a bit of that. And I loved problem-solving skills, and I liked the creativity programmers seem to have in building solutions. And it was that creative spark that really drew me into programming. Now, as time went on, I used many excuses to myself as why I didn't follow these ambitions. Firstly, I don't like driving cars, never mind running them off ramps. I don't like driving motorbikes. Driving stresses me out. Also, as much as I liked I was good at solving problems, I didn't get the hang of coding. And a load of excuses and loads of reasons why I didn't follow those routes. But the real reason, if I'm honest now, and I realise it now, is that it was fear that kept me back from both of those dreams. It was fear of wasting time. It was fear of the unknown. Obviously fear of killing myself as a stuntman, and most importantly, fear of failing. And that kind of kept me back from going down that route. So I became a Dynamics 365 consultant, which that satisfied my thirst for creativity and solving problems for a while anyway. And then in 2015, I decided to try my hand at skydiving. And that's probably as close as being a stuntman that I'm going to get. I didn't realise until somebody told me that you could actually just enrol in a course. So I went under tandem skydiving. I absolutely loved it. Again, I felt that sense of freedom, and that was what I really wanted. And I felt that confidence after it as well. That kind of urgy, resurgent confidence was what I liked about it. But I didn't realise anybody could do it. Somebody said, "Oh, you should just go and train it. Anybody can do it." And I went, "All right, that sounds brilliant." So again, these ambitions, I didn't realise it was fear that kept me back from pursuing them. Until one day when I was on my skydiving training course in Seville, and I was training to get my skydiving license, that I was it's my first time I was ever faced by sheer paralysing fear. And it wasn't to do with, it wasn't an accident or anything. And the skydiving course started off plain sailing. Turns out I was actually really good at just falling, making my body go limp and falling. I was really good at that. Landing I wasn't so good at, but sailed through it, 8 supervised jumps over 3 days, and then I was cleared to skydive solo. And then on the 4th day, I was feeling a bit of a superstar, feeling a bit cocky, again, I got that confidence. But then the 4th day in Seville, I was heading up on the plane, and all of a sudden it hit me. It was the fear. And for whatever reason, on that occasion, nothing out of the ordinary. I was just going up in the plane. I just started looking for excuses not to get out the plane door. And I was like, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And it was the first time I'd ever really had anything like that. It was almost like an anxiety attack. And my body was paralysed, and I couldn't move my legs. And I found my excuse for eventually not going out the plane was just, I can't do this. That was my excuse. And I didn't do it. I ended up going down with the plane and doing the kind of walk of shame at the end back into the hangar. And so at that moment, all the work that I'd put into becoming a skydiver was for nothing. And so let's jump forward to January 2019. And I was at Dynamics 365 Glasgow, and I attended a session by Dave Burrell. And in this session, he was introduced me to Azure Cognitive Services, because I'd never heard of it before. And it was like I got that buzz when I did my first tandem skydive. It was like, whoa, hold on. You can do things with AI and really creative things with Azure Cognitive Services and Flow, and you don't need to be a developer. It was Flow at that point, because it hadn't been rebranded. You don't need to be a developer. I was blown away. And I really wanted to find out more about this. I had a bit of a Google, and I found out that it was Azure Cognitive Services was a whole thing. It wasn't just the bit he was showing. It was because he was showing us how to you could get a text in an email and translate it on the fly as it came into D365 from English to Spanish. It would appear in D365 translated for you. And I thought, that must take a lot of dev to do that. But he showed us it using Power Automate or Flow at the time. And again, I was just so excited because, again, that childhood dream started coming back to me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get into this. I had a look at it, and then I got the fear again. It just looked very development, very devy. And then roll up to December 2019. So, nearly a year later, and I was starting to get familiar with Power Automate a bit. starting to get to grips with it, really just replacing classic workflows in Dynamics 365. And my point of that is I started growing in confidence, and then an opportunity came along for a requirement for one of our existing customers to transcribe some phone call audio recordings that they do in their call center, which are stored in Azure Blob, and transcribe them to text files so that they can be stored. It wasn't Dynamics they were using, they were storing them as files elsewhere. And me and my confidence again, the same as I did when I was past my skydiving license. I was like, yeah, I could do that. That sounds like something up my street. And of course, next thing you know, it's just as soon as you say something like that, it's quoted, it's sold, it's scheduled, and there's a fast approaching deadline. So it was a deadline that I had to meet as well. So I started looking into how to do it, how to go about doing it. And again, I was thinking there must just be a connector for Power Automate. I'll just, it's low code, no code. That's my kind of thing. It can't be that hard. And then things started coming up: REST APIs, endpoints, JSON, repositories, Swagger, getting and putting sample codes, and on GitHub. And that, as much as I'm familiar with all those terms, I'm familiar in the sense that I say maybe we should get a professional developer time scheduled in to do this. And so I started to despair. A deadline was approaching, and every one of these terms came up was an excuse for me not to fulfill this creative dream that I had. And more excuses came, and I got to that dreaded phrase again: I can't do this. And it was the fear again that got me. And it was different this time. It was a different approach. It seemed to creep up on me at my desk as opposed to jumped out at me when I was on the plane. This time though, I recognised it. I was like, this is the same kind of thing. I made a connection. I was just like, this is the same kind of thing as what I was doing when I was skydiving. I thought back to that time, because I was just looking for, my brain was working overtime, looking for excuses not to fulfil this need or this requirement. And I thought back to what my skydiving instructor said when after the incident on the plane on the next day, and he was saying, regardless of what form of fear takes, methods of overcoming it are the same. And those methods of conquering the fear are you do three things. You just assure yourself that you've got the right tools or weapons to conquer it. In the case of my skydiving, I've got a parachute. I'd done it before, so that I had the right tools to get safely to the ground. In the case of cognitive services, Power Automate's there. Now, Power Automate, again, I was learning more about it. There's REST API actions, there's the parse JSON action, and we'll look at these tools in a second. And the second thing you have to do is have a backup plan. Well, skydiving, I had a reserve parachute, and we have an automatic deployment device as well, which pops your parachute if anything happens to you in there. So you've more or less, most of the time, got a parachute above your head. My reserve for Power Automate is I've got a huge community out there of Power Automate and Azure specialists that you can ask for help and reach out to. So lastly, the last technique that was to conquering the fear of both the getting out the plane and this new fear that was the same kind of, it was, I just call it the fear. It wasn't obviously as harsh as the one coming out the plane, but it's still the same thing. It's still anxiety. The other thing to do to overcome that is to break it down into smaller problems. And with skydiving, it was stand up, walk to the door, relax, and jump out, relax, and pull your parachute. As easy as that. So when it comes to getting over my fear of development and using the speech to text service, that's what we're going to look into just now. But it's about breaking down into bite-sized chunks, and the tools that Power Automate provides you with is what we'll look at now. I'll show you how I broke that problem down into manageable chunks using and it was new tools to me at the time. So the first thing I'll do, I'll just close this down and I'll show you. Oops, that's the wrong one. So the first thing to look at that I did when I basically 4 days off And just about the Christmas holiday time, this is my time to do this. So the Microsoft documentation on the Azure Cognitive Services is very, very good. It's very detailed. And find out what the speech service is and what speech service to use, because there's a few different speech services that convert audio into text files. The one that we're looking for here is the batch speech to text, because that's larger conversations. And the other one, the real-time speech to text, is smaller conversations that you can use. You can do it on the fly, but I can't remember exactly, but I think at the time it was something like up to 15 seconds long. Now that wasn't going to help these phone calls for a client. So click on the how-to to find out what the batch transcription is, and this gives you all the actions. This has actually changed since I simply implemented this solution. And so I had to go look at these again recently because the API has been updated. But this gives you everything that you need to know on how to create a batch transcription. Because you want to create a transcription, and then you want it's also asynchronous. So you have to poll it to see if to go and get it and see if it's finished transcribing your files, and then you have to do something with it. But that tells us all the stuff we're going to do. And this is another new term for me, this Swagger document. You can review the detailed API, which is a Swagger document. For me, being a low-code, no-code developer, consultant, I'd never heard of Swagger. And if we have a look at that, that was a huge benefit to me, because this basically gives you a list of all the cognitive services APIs, or most of them, and it tells you exactly how to use them. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they might be able to confirm it, but the devs will be able to confirm that. I think you can run tests and things like that through this as well. But I mean, if I look up to create transcription, it gives me the request URL that I have to use, the required headers, and it just gives me a sample of the JSON body that I need to send, request body. So that is invaluable. Also, if we scroll down, we've got some prerequisites. It tells us we need a subscription key, which is in Azure, and I'll show you how to create that in a second. And we need an audio file with the relevant extension. Audio file is easy. So I've got an audio file here. I said I was a wrestling fan. To prove it's an audio file, we have a Bret the Hitman Hart promo. I don't know if you can hear that or not, but it's Bret the Hitman Hart talking a really good promo. I'm not going to play the full thing. But that's your audio file in MP3 format. That could be a recording of a call center call that comes in. It also states here, and I think it's moved further down the page, that, so it supports Azure Blob storage for reading the audio. So as part of the prerequisites, I'd probably say that has to be up a bit. You have to have a Blob storage account, you have your audio files saved in there, and it has to be one of these formats. And back to this subscription key. So in order to create a subscription key, because again, at this point, I only really knew of Azure. I had never really been in it, and I knew about the Active Directory things. I didn't realize it had all these other services. And Azure's quite scary when you first look at it. But in order to create your cognitive services speech to text, it was dead easy. You click create resource. Now, there is one thing that catches you out. If you do a search for speech, that's the right one. That is the right one. There's one. If you do speech to text, I think it is, there's one that comes up. Yeah, if you do speech to text, that's not the right one. So the tip is you need to pay for that one. Well, you need to pay for the Azure one as well, but that's another kind of app that you need to purchase. The one you want is the speech one, the first one that we brought up, and that's the Azure Speech Service. So we can create an Azure Speech Service resource in Azure, and you give it a name. So I'm just going to call it D365. Manchester test, and oops, let's just take these away, and we'll choose the location as UK South. There's the one there. Now it's important, the location is very important because you use that as part of your endpoint. And the pricing tier is very important too, because when I started this, you can use a lot of Azure under a free trial. You can't use the speech to text under a free trial, so you have to pay for it. But the price and trial out, don't let that put you off because it is very minimal. And if you use it as part of your standard SO and you do have a free trial, it takes the credits off the free trial first before it starts charging you. But you do need to put your credit card in there to start up a trial to try using it. And you select your default resource group. So we click create, and it deploys the service. And excuse me, that also deploys the resource. Click go to resource, and that's you set up your Azure Cognitive Services speech to text service. It's as easy as that. You've got your keys, because in order to authenticate, you need a secret key, and you can click show keys there. I'll refresh the keys later. And you've got your endpoint. So this is the address that you're going to send these requests to in order to create your transcription, what do you call them, objects, and then get the files from your transcription, and then convert your audio files to text. So it's worth taking a note of that. The location again is very important there because it builds up the first part of your endpoint. So copy that, and we'll put that into Notepad. I've already copied a secret over there. I was going to do a live flow build, but because I've changed the endpoint recently, I didn't feel too confident. So I'll just show you the one that I've built. So we've got speech service, and let's upload our file to Azure. I'll open up the flow first. So here's our flow. I did notice earlier on today it was going really fast when it came to the transcription, or checking when the transcription was done, but later in the day it was a bit slow. So what I'll do, I'll trigger the flow now, and I'll run through it, and then I'll step through what happens and how I build it. And then hopefully by the time I finish that, it will be the transcription will be finished, and we'll have a text file at the end. Another thing you need to download as well to do your testing is the Azure Storage Explorer, just really so that you can put your files up there. Now the client automatically was putting things into Azure Blob. For us trialing out, we'll just drag and drop the file in there. So if we take our file, Bret Hart promo.mp3, and just put it in there. Off it goes. It's only 44 seconds long, so it shouldn't take too long. And I'll talk through how I built this. So the first trigger is it's reasonably straightforward. It's you do it for blob, and when a blob is added or modified, then that's what's going to trigger the flow. So adding that file into our Azure Blob storage container, you can browse to your Azure Blob storage container here, and that links to these ones here. Now the next bit is the bit that was new to me as well, because although I've used Azure Blob before as well, again I didn't know too much about it. I just knew that it stored files, and I didn't know how you could browse to it. But to browse to it, you need a secret key, a SAS URI. It provides you with a temporary secret key that you can go and access that file. But there's an action in here which allows you to create the SAS URI by path, and the path can be gotten from the response from your Power Automate trigger. So put that in there, and then the output of that, if we look at one of my previous tests, there's my flow is running just now. If I look at a previous test, the output of our create SAS URI is a link to that blob file. And that's what we need when we create our transcription, because remember, all I'm taking here is go to the Swagger document, create transcription. And again, the things that we need for a request are this endpoint. We know what the endpoint is. You don't need the contact type. I just leave it out, and it works fine. But the absolute required header is the transcription key, because that's the subscription key that we copied earlier. And again, this Swagger thing was invaluable when I was looking at this, because it just gives you a sample of exactly what you need. So if we go back to our flow, the first thing we need to do is create the transcription. I initialize a subscription key first, so that's just a text file containing that key. If we create the transcription, and I'll show you what you need to do in there. It says it used a post method, and again, that's from the Swagger documentation. I just copied it right over. And again, this is the example I copied straight from Swagger. So the body was copied over. We add the header in, and we put our subscription key in there. And from the content URLs, we just replace that with, again, the web URL from our trigger. So our SAS URI path. We can do it from there, and a display name. And that's all you need to do. Just for the trial anyway. You can also change the language and the locale to English UK. And so I put a unique identifier at the end, just saying the time now, just so that I know what it's going to be a unique display name. I don't think it makes any difference, but I always put that in there anyway. And that will create the transcription in Azure Cognitive Services. Now, the next bit that we did, again, was quite new. So though I used Power Automate and Flow, it was more within the realms of Dynamics 365 to replace classic workflows. I wasn't doing any requests. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do this. This action here is an HTTP request. If I just show you that, we're using HTTP requests to do these actions. So yeah, so I breaking it down into little steps again, like my skydiver instructor told me to do back when I had my incident with the plane. The first step I did was create the transcription, and then I just did a compose in here, and a compose will show you, help you see what the response to that transcription is. So if I put body in there, and if I were to run a test on that flow, I would put a terminate here. If I have to run a test on that flow, I would see exactly what was in the response to that transcription. And that looks something like this. If I go to the one that's already run, we have the body here. And so what I would do, I would copy and paste that into VS Code. VS Code is really another really handy tool as well, because you can save a file as a .json file and paste that in, and you can see what response you get when that transcription or that step executes. Important things we've got here are self. Now that's the URL of the transcription, because we need to go and get that transcription at some point to check its status. Another one that is very important is the files. That's where the files are going to be stored, the text files, once the transcription completes. And we have the status. And as I said, this is asynchronous. So as soon as you create that transcription, it doesn't mean that it finishes before it moves on to the next step. And that was a wee bit tricky as well, because you have to poll it to see what status it's at. So the status is not started in that case. And so the next really handy, and again, to find out a bit about this from the community, is that was my reserve, is this parse JSON action here. So what you do with parse JSON action, and I'll show you an example of it, is that we add a new step. Let me see, parse JSON. You take the response from your create transcription, so the body, and you have to put a schema. And what that does is it takes the response from the body and it splits it up into these different elements so that you can access this self node in Power Automate. If I show you that, how that schema is generated, I take this response body that I got from the compose action, and I can generate from sample, because that's a sample, that's what it's expecting to get, and I can just paste that in there and click done, and that will generate a sample for me, and that determines the structure of the output from that action. So now when I go into, if we do another compose, that's quite good to see. I can now access all these different nodes, and they relate to these values here. So again, if we look at self, we've got self up there, and there's two there. There's a bit of a gotcha with the duplicate ones as well that I'll explain in a second. And I'll just delete those steps out. So that's us created our transcription, and that's sitting in Azure Cognitive Services. And we've got the value out of the response that we need. And again, I declared a variable called status, an empty variable, because you had to do it at a high level. Now, what we need to do then is pull that file, keep doing that, get in the transcription service. Again, we get the transcription service by going right back to Swagger again. I just do a search for transcription down this side here. So yeah, so this gives us all our get, and we've got get transcription. And so that'll go and get the transcription, and then we can use the parse JSON query, the parse JSON action again to check the status. And it just tells you exactly how to do it. The request URL is that one, which conveniently enough is actually the exact same as that self property there. And if you look, that's the first self node there. You've got self down here, but they're another level down. So it's this first self node that we want to use to get the transcription. And so we're going to check whether it's started or if the transcription is equal to not started, because sometimes it happens really quick. Sometimes it might just go straight to running. But if it isn't, we're going to keep doing this bit here until it is no longer not started. So we're going to get the transcription, and again, straight from that Swagger document, we're using get, which is from
I think we were losing Paddy, are we? Should we just give him a second?
Sounds like he's approaching the event horizon of a black hole. Time slowed down for him, but it stayed the same for the rest of us.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give Paddy a second. Actually, a temporary issue.
See, this is definitely where I need to pre-come up with some technical difficulties on hold music. The one I was humming before was Quantum Leap, if anyone got that. If anyone got that issue, got that reference.
It's just the Jeopardy music, isn't it? That, do 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 bip 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 bip. That good old one.
Hoping Eat Sleep was lit. Yeah, exactly. Scott Bakula. It's a great show. They need to bring back some of those shows. This is the quality content you can get from me and Jeff.
Yeah.
Just riff in between technical difficulties.
You know what? My guilty pleasure to this day still is a catchphrase with Roy Walker.
Do a good catchphrase.
Fantastic
Say what you see.
Show. Say what you see. Ah, it's good, but it's not right. Here's a catchphrase.
Yeah, there's some great 90s TV that really needs to come back. You know, Gladiators. What? You know,
Yes.
why is Gladiators not still a thing?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right, Paddy's definitely gone now. We'll keep filling until for a few minutes until he comes back.
Here he is now. Just let him back in.
How's that? How's that? We're back.
There we go. Yep, you're back, Paddy.
I've switched to my phone on 4G, so I might turn my video off. I'll keep it on. I'll see how we go. We'll see how we get on. See how the speed is.
Good stuff.
So, where did I get to?
You were talking about gets.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So we're getting the transcription, and again, what I would do when I was learning that is put in another compose in here and see the output of that get before I do anything else, because I want to see what gets returned when that response is accepted by Azure Cognitive Services. And what's
reshare your screen, mate? It's not drawn up for me.
How's that?
Still waiting for now. But in the meantime, I can see that Ian's in the Nag's Head, so that's always good. Nothing's come up just yet. Do you try stopping and starting it again, maybe? Or killing your video?
Oh, no.
But I mean, like, if you kill your video, we lose that great T-shirt. Oh, and you. So.
Am I back now? Back?
Nope. Still no picture. Do you jump out and maybe jump back in again?
I'll try one more. Try another one. Yeah, I'll try coming out.
And now Ian has gone to, is that cell block H, or is that? I think that one's before my time, Ian, I'm afraid. Here's Paddy. Porridge. Oh, there
yeah,
we go.
I was going to say that porridge, yeah.
Oh, I think we're...
There we go. We're cooking with gas.
Paddy's on mute, though, just in case he's talking right now.
Hello.
There we go.
There we go.
Yes, nothing like a good technical issue. Live
on the night.
He was me worried about not getting to my 60 minutes. No, I might.
Did you make an offer into the demo god? I always forget, you see. So
I forgot. Yeah, let's forget.
Okay, take it away, Paddy.
So we're getting the transcription, and like I said, I would put in a compose in here and stop and terminate my flow just to see what the response is. I mean, you can't see the output, the response here, but I've had times where it doesn't, and it's just a link to a file here. So I always do a compose and get it that way, and I always like to just analyze it in Visual Studio Code just to have a look at what's coming back is what I'm expecting. And again, looking at this example, our status was not started again. And so what this bit does here is this, again, you're going to parse the JSON. Anytime you do one of these REST API calls to Azure Cognitive Services, parse the JSON afterwards, because then you can use all those nodes and properties in your flow. So I'm going to parse the JSON, and then from that, we set the transcription status to the status that we get from our JSON. And again, that's just done by clicking on parse JSON 2, which is the name of that step, and we'll go to status, which is that one. So you just select it from there, because again, all those properties now are available and accessible through our flow. So we're setting the variable to the current status, and then we're going to say if the current status is equal to not started, we're going to wait 30 seconds. Now I put in the real world, I put a minute wait on it. Usually the phone calls that we're getting in there, which are the average call time is about 7 to 10 minutes long. It takes about a minute per minute in the call. So we'll maybe do 7 attempts to try and to check the status 7 times with a minute hold in it. So I'm not saying it take longer than that, and I've not used it with any really long recordings. For this example, I just put in 30 seconds because, like I said, I was going to do it a live test for you, and it also didn't want people just sitting for 7 minutes. But I put about a minute in there, and that works quite well. So I'll wait a minute, and then I'll just keep trying that again until it isn't, until the status changes to something other than not started. And the status after not started, this is just the exact same process again. The status after not started is running. So you can just copy that previous section and put it in there and change the values to running. And you're just doing that exact same thing again. And then once it's finished running, you just need to check whether it's either succeeded or failed. If I've created the transcription successfully, obviously sometimes when I created the transcription, it's failed on the creation of it. If I create it, I don't think I've ever seen it fail at this stage. Again, that's only just from my previous experience. I'm sure there are times when it does or something happens in the cloud where it fails, but every time I think it comes back as succeeded. If it doesn't succeed though, and the status isn't succeeded, then you're just going to terminate it with failed and put an error message in there. So now that we've created a batch transcription in Azure Cognitive Services, we're then going to get the files, because the result of this, if I go back to my results, our files are in here. So we need to go and get the files. And again, I was just straight onto the Swagger document, find out how to get the files. That's sort of the file. And again, you can put some other parameters in here, but you can just put the
Have we lost Paddy again?
That's what I was about to think. I thought if we were going to lose anyone, I thought it might be Ian tonight, because of how far he is from the exchange. Well, we can't hear Ian if he's talking, even though he's not on mute. His microphone's not working. But yeah, looks like we've lost Paddy again. Helps if you switch it on.
I was feeling very smug that I got through mine with all I had was a PowerPoint failure.
Yeah.
Right, the exam question is, which bar is this one then?
Oh, that's Forty Towers.
Got it in one. You're too good at this, Matt.
Oh, it was Joe, that one.
Oh, Joe.
I don't know the camera on. Okay, yeah, we'll give Paddy a minute just to get rejoined.
But Tom's just talk really quickly through the rest of it before he drops out again. Strong, what other classic 90s or 80s shows should they bring back? I'm still waiting for another Only Fools and Horses special, to be honest.
I'm not sure they can do it really. Sort of finished it off quite nicely.
I can't remember what the last special was now.
How about Men Behave Badly meets Middle Age?
Yeah, that could work. think what else there is.
I think I'm the only person that doesn't find Only Fools and Horses funny.
No, I don't like it either. Can't stand it. Absolutely can't stand it.
You know,
Like
Friendship
me now,
ended
don't
with
you, Mark?
Cheryl and Alison. Oh my goodness.
it's,
hate
it's
it.
just one
Shit,
of
I'm
those things
out
that
of here.
just-
I'm out of here. I thought I was amongst friends.
You are amongst friends, and it doesn't make me love you any less that you like it, Ian.
I just don't get it, right? I just don't get it at all.
Like on the one hand, you've got the Daily Mail criminalising people who don't work and are on benefits, and then on the other hand, you're making a sitcom about them. Cognitive dissonance is too strong for me.
And I thought things were going to get controversial. I was just going to say I thought things were going to get controversial when somebody named trifle as their favourite dessert. I mean, I was rolling up my sleeves at that point.
I love a bit of trifle.
Oh,
I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but I'm very keen.
I don't like the spongy bits in it. Why would anyone do that? Who puts sponge in jelly? What's that all about?
Oh, tiramisu.
well,
Ew, I don't like that either.
Maybe you should try the Friends recipe of trifle. It's like, you know,
Oh,
jam,
meat.
sponge, beef, peas.
Oh no, couldn't eat beef.
It's
I do
probably an
with
improvement on
soy
my mother's trifle, I'll tell you.
I like a bit of trifle. I don't know what my favourite pudding is. I'm going to go donuts.
Custard donuts. What sort of filling? What sort of donuts for a start?
Literally, well, vegan ones, obviously, but literally, other than that, don't give a shit. Any kind of donut's good in my book. Like it's basically bread and sugar. Like I'm just delighted with that all the way through. So,
See, you're not far away from bread and butter pudding there. All you're missing is the sultanas.
see, I'm very keen on a bread and butter pudding. Very keen. With a nice bit of custard.
Made with cream. Made with cream.
Made with cream. Well, I wouldn't make it with cream or fake cream, but
Yeah.
and a nice. But do you have it the pudding hot with cold custard?
Hot with cold custard.
Yeah.
That's blancmange, isn't it?
Oh, I like cold custard on hot desserts. I don't know. It's just I had sticky toffee pudding with cold custard.
Oh, I love sticky toffee pudding.
STP.
I'm gonna risk our friendship, Ian, and say to you that I've never actually tried bread and butter pudding.
Oh, it's delicious. I used to
That's
hate it when
good.
someone gave it me cold, but warmed up, it is just fantastic.
You want to go to the pudding club in the Cotswolds, right? So when you turn up there for dinner, you get, it's a lovely little hotel in the Cotswolds, and you get like a tiny bowl or something, like spag bog or something, and then they parade the puddings in. There'll be maybe 18, 20 puddings, and then you go for it. And you know, I managed to get through about 8, I think, but that I was nowhere near the record. But they got all the good stuff, sweet puddings, and you know, all that kind of stuff.
Just googled it.
I'm just doing that now.
There's a
The pudding
spotted
club.
dick on there that looks tremendous. Tremendous.
Talking of which, I can hear my dinner being served.
Yeah,
Just like,
it's getting to that time, isn't it? I want to see the
Right.
end of Paddy's thing.
I am thinking we may need to give Paddy a bit of a pass and try and pick up. Maybe you can do a recording of the last bit and we can upload that as well, because I'm not sure he's making it back. Oh, I really want to go to the pudding club now, Ian.
Oh, wow.
Good.
Is it done?
tickets.
I'll tell you what I'll do, right? Next time we
doggy
have an
friendly, I think.
in-person, our first in-person, I'll bring along a tray of sticky toffee pudding. My daughter's a chef, and she makes like industrial numbers of pudding. Her sticky toffee is just phenomenal. She makes it like with dates and stuff, and it is just beautiful. So I'll bring some along.
Friendship
I'm there.
restored.
She
Thank
can
you,
make
Cheryl.
anything. She'll make anything, like, you know, can adapt things, Alison. So I'll
actually,
get her to do a vegan one.
Actually, Cheryl, sod COVID. On my way to your place now.
Yeah, I think I might come as well. Actually.
I'll pick you up.
Okay, I think we've got Paddy back
So,
actually.
I am on. Yeah, the whole internet's went down in the house, so I'm on 4G again. So I don't know how long I'll last. Sorry,
We
everyone.
were just saying, do you want to try talking very quickly? And we'll see what we can do. And if you fall out again, what we'll do is we'll see if you can just make a video of the last few bits or a video of the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll just try and do a video.
Yeah.
No problem. Right, I tried rebooting everything, but the whole house has gone down. So I pull it back up where it was. Right. So, let's just open that one up as well. So we've got to the job succeeding. So the next thing you have to do is get the files. And like I said, that action, which is get the files from the transcription.
Having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Sorry, there's an echo going off in this back as well. So we're getting the files. All we do is use the subscription key and again this files property that we got from parsing the JSON of our get files response. And so it's that, sorry, not get files response, get transcription response. So it's that URL that we're hitting there to get those files. And again, we use the, I would stop before there, do the compose and check what I was building that. Quite glad, thankfully, I didn't build it live because that would be even worse. So yeah, so get the files. The response you get from your get files is this here. So you've got the URL to the get files, and notice you've got two files here. You've got the transcription and the transcription report. You want to check, look at these values and go through these values and get the transcription because that's the one that's got all the information that you want for it to convert to a text file. And you've also got this property, which is the content URL. And that's stored in Azure Blob, and that's not configurable or anything as far as I know, just automatically stores it in Azure Blob somewhere. So the next step in building our flow, again, we parse the JSON as we do in previous steps. And I put a var transcription text. If I show it, once we get to the files, I'll show you why I do that. And so we're going to look at each of these values that's returned in our get files action, and we're going to get the content of that files. And again, it's the exact same as before. You're just using a get with the content URL, and you've got your subscription key in there. And again, it's repeating that same process. We've broken it down into such small pieces that we just keep doing the same thing to get the information out. And the response from that one, if I just stop, is this. And this is looking a bit more like our transcribed text. We've got quite a lot of different, a lot of information in here. You've got this combined recognized phrases. That's the whole file. And you've got two of them. We've got two channels. I think, I'm not 100% sure, that's for stereo, for left and right. So we only really want to say, I'm a wee bit pernickety when it comes to this, and that I don't just want a big stream. So it is my text file. So I'm going to use the recognized phrases one, and that segments the text into different phrases that it recognized. In this particular file, we've only got two phrases. So there's the start of Bret the Hitman Hart's promo, where he talks about WrestleMania, and he has a pause, and then he starts off on the next one. That's not a lot of pauses in a 44-second promo. We want to combine these nice phrases. We want to join them together and maybe put a paragraph or a line in between them. And we're doing that in, again, the exact same way. We use the get to get the content URL. We parse the JSON, and we use it for the sample. Again, we're generating the schema from the sample. So we click generate schema, and we just select all and up with a schema for us. So it's doing all the hard work for us. And then for each recognized phrase, if the channel is set to 0, because we only need one channel, we don't need it. We don't need 10. I think you can do multiple conversations in it as well, or that can recognize who's speaking or multiple people speaking. But we're going to apply to each of these NB nest ones. And again, these get created automatically for you. These apply to each. And this is one of the occasions where you probably do want you, because we need to analyze each of the N best properties. To build our text, our string of text, and we put a paragraph or a new line in there as well. So now that property has the text file using. I'm just storing it into OneDrive at the moment, but you can store that anywhere you want, any kind of storage facility, or you could even write it back into the Common Data Service or a Power App or D365, or should I say DataFlex Pro. And we just put the content in there. Just for housekeeping, because we did notice if we didn't delete the transcriptions, it's a wee bit lazy, that it got slower. The actual processing of the converting the audio file to text gets slower over time. So good housekeeping, use a delete to delete the script subscription based on the URL at the end, and that's your completed flow. And so if we look at the test that we did, this is the one that we uploaded the file to. It says it succeeded. And if we open up OneDrive, see a text file. So it's being created. And yeah, so that's our content of our audio file. And it's pretty good. So it recognizes the audio content. It doesn't, fun enough, when I use it and it's my audio, it keeps getting my name wrong. It keeps saying I'm Paddy Byrne, but I can live with that. But that's actually quite accurate. I mean, Bret Hart is speaking clearly because he's presenting himself. But that's pretty accurate if you have the audio for AI guessing what it is. So another thing that I've done with it, because that's just one of the features within cognitive services. This really is more of a platform for me. This is my first dipping my toes into it. Now that not even just learning the cognitive services, but learning how to use those REST API actions. Where before I would normally have to get a developer or spend a good while putting some dodgy code together to do that. I can use the tools within PowerAutomate to get to make a REST API request and pull back and do some functions and pull back some data of value. And that opens up the stores to so many other things, because anything that has an API now, you can sort of work with it with those actions. Another thing that I've done with the content services, as I said, was I did it the other way around. So I converted text to audio. And if I pull that up, because that actually works really well with the DataFlex Pro file fields. If I go into my Power Apps and I show you that flow. And so the batch transcription ones are a wee bit more complex, because you need to pull it and keep checking for the status. For the other way around, converting the text to audio, you don't need to pull it. It happens at real time. I think there might be a small delay, but it's not. I've not had any problems with it just pulling it. I think going here, and this is a flow for it. So where a field is updated in DataFlex Pro through a model-driven or a Canvas app, this will run and convert it to create an audio file of it. And I'll show you why that's really helpful, in particular to this app. So again, when file's created, you specify the region, the subscription key, you need some different variables for this one. But essentially all you're doing is hitting that post URL. And again, all of that is in the documentation. You can choose your gender, who you want the AI robot to sound like, and there's a whole host of different dialects and things like that there as well. And that adds quite a benefit for accessibility. So the app that I used this in was my HTTP personal project. This is a oh yeah, that's so when I save that back to CDS, I don't need to actually do anything with the output. I just put the body straight into the content of the file field. So that's really, really helpful. That works a lot better than what I thought it would. I thought I'd have to kind of drag the content out of it. But if I look at this wee Canvas app, you'll see the benefits of just putting that wee flow in and populating those fields within CDS. So this is a flashcard app which helps me study for exams, and I get a little audio thing that I can play the title and the description there. You might not be able to hear it over Teams, it's not coming through my headphones, but it plays the audio. But again, that's just an example of how Azure Cognitive Services can really make your app a lot more accessible. So back to finishing off my slide. I hope it wasn't too disruptive. That I've kind of my point in this presentation was to try and encourage people to not look for those excuses that I looked for, because I was saying, oh, that's too hard, I don't know how to do that, I'm not a dev, I'm getting these things up. I was facing the fear, and that it's worthwhile conquering the fear, because as soon as you learn how to make those REST API calls, it opens up a whole new world of possibilities. Why conquer the fear? Skydiving, because it leads to opportunity for loads more jumps. It gets you more involved in more creative jumps. And the same goes with Azure Cognitive Services and any other REST API. Conquering that fear of I can't do it and overcoming that opens up loads of possibilities. And if we look at some of the possibilities that's just available within Azure Cognitive Services, you've got vision, which involves face recognition. You've got speech recognition, translators. There's search, and you can search Bing images. I did a wee app where you went and got a search Bing for an image and pulled an image down. Knowledge I've not actually looked at too much, and again the Bing search. So that's just within Cognitive Services. So if you think of the possibilities you've got out with Cognitive Services, just learning those API, HTTP request action in Power Automate, the parse JSON and the compose action. Those actions, learn how to use them, can really make your apps stand out and be more accessible and more smart or intelligent as it's branded. So that is all for me. Again, there's my contact details. I hope I encourage you to go and look at Azure Cognitive Services and learn how to use those REST API requests within Power Automate. And I'm sorry about the internet loss. Have we got any questions or anything?
I was going to say there's no questions in the chat at the moment, but if anyone does have any questions, just feel free to pop yourself off mute and ask. If you all wouldn't mind just giving Paddy a bit of a round of applause, that was a fantastic presentation on the different
Could have been a bit smoother, but
yeah, it's always hard when these things go wrong. So big appreciation for you sticking at it, Paddy.
Yeah, if there's any questions at all, just even contact me over LinkedIn or anything. It's quite. I find it really exciting, the fact that me as a non-developer can actually unleash a bit more creativity using these kind of tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you kind of said, like the whole theme behind all of it was just break everything down into the simplest parts. One part leads on to another part, leads on to another part. So when you think about the idea that you have all this massive thing you need to get through, you need to transcribe this thing. So okay, well, what does that look like, and where are these parts broken down to? So
yeah, when I started doing I started doing that. I didn't know about the compose one, and so I was putting for the responses, because some of them I wasn't getting a response back, and it was just a link to, especially the one where you actually get the content of the file is just a link to the file, and I was saving that as a file into OneDrive and analysing it first.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Compose saves my life, man. I use Compose on a near daily basis. So it's great. And the parse JSON thing, like the tip you use there, is the thing I do all the time. So big thank you to Paddy and to Ian for giving up their time to present tonight. Paddy did have some technical difficulties, as did Ian at the start, but we got there in the end. So thank you for sticking with us. It's a little bit later than we kind of hoped to finish, so apologies for that. I've put up a link on the screen to the feedback. If you do get a chance to fill out the feedback, that will be appreciated. It helps Paddy and Ian understand, what they can do in other presentations, and also helps us understand if this is the best format. Would you prefer shorter talks? Would you prefer longer talks? For one speaker, 4 speakers? That sort of thing. So we are looking at our next event maybe around the September-October time. At this moment in time, I'm thinking it's probably still going to be remote, so still probably over Teams. But we may look to change that if things do change. But with that, I think that's the last slide, isn't it?
So
yeah.
So unless we've got any questions at all,
unless there's any questions.
Speak now, or well, not forever hold your peace, but I'll just stop recording.
Yeah, Robin was saying he used Postman's a really good tool. It's something I have used a few times, and for the other the flow that I showed you later, with the other way around, Postman was very, very handy for coming into that. I still haven't really mastered how to use it yet, and not use it extensively, but that is a good tip from Robin.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the only thing to do is if we could just all give Ian and Paddy one more round of applause for all their hard work tonight. So thank you guys very much. And with that, you're all free to leave, or you can stick around and bother Paddy or Ian or whoever can stay. I think Ian's actually gone off for his food. He's probably a hungry guy, so if anyone wants to stick around and chat, we're free to. You can stick around in here. Else, you're free to depart and enjoy the rest of your evening. So thank you all for joining.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
It's been lovely, but I might have to go and feed my children. It's not my fault.
And on that bombshell, I'll stop the recording.